Alright guys, welcome to episode number 9 of Tardis Talk, in which we'll be recapping what happened in the latest episode, Sleep No More, which seen Gagan Rasmussen invent a sleep pod known as Morpheus, and it allowed humans to get a whole month's worth of sleep in just 5 minutes. That allowed them to then go their entire month without the need to sleep, but in doing so it caused the sleep dust in the bodies to mutate and become cannibalized. Sounds a little bit far-fetched, doesn't it? So, Elle, Pet, what did you think of this week's episode? Say something nice.
I wish I could say something nice. I'm really struggling on what to say. I didn't enjoy the episode at all. I kind of didn't hate it enough, but I just really didn't like it. It felt really lazy. It felt like a lot of the decoration and the setting and things kind of felt under the dome, and it all kind of felt reused, even the corridors and the coffin or whatever it was in this episode. It felt like we'd already seen it before, and everything was really, really lazy. I don't even think Peter Capaldi and Jenna were that great as characters. The supporting characters, pretty crap. The only one who really had any characterization was the villain, and then probably the Grunt, which is kind of weird because grunts aren't supposed to really have much personality. So it was all kind of really, really crap.
To be fair with you, I totally agree with it. It felt a bit sloppy. It didn't feel like a finished episode. And like you said, it felt like we kind of got a lot of the sets reused from Under the Lake. So the corridors and things, it all seemed very similar. And I think that for that reason alone, it kind of didn't make me feel as much as I was hoping for with this episode. Because watching the preview, I thought, there's similarities to The Ring in the way that they were, don't watch this footage. And it did actually turn out to be quite Ring-like in the way that it ended. We had sort of alien type vibes as well, going through the corridors and running through the Marines and things. So I kind of had a lot more hope for this episode. I thought it'd be better than it was, but I just didn't really get it. I think it was the whole idea of the sleep dust in your eye and that just becoming cannibalized. It sounded like a really strange way to go to make up these monsters. There was so much more they could have really done with it. I would have preferred something where they were maybe trapped in the pods and it was kind of like a dream sequence with something going on. But the sleep dust thing, I think that's what a lot of people have really picked up on and really didn't like. And that was what really bugged me, especially with the ending as well, where we didn't actually get any sort of conclusion as to how the Doctor was going to save them. And I guess for this time, once and only, the bad guys have actually won.
I think that one of the major things for me was there wasn't a lot of mystery about it. It was all pretty straightforward. I know when we first saw the monster, we didn't see them head on, and that was one of the really good points, probably one of the only points I liked from the episode, because it was found footage and we were seeing it through the eyes of someone else. We only saw a limb of the monster and it was all oh, what's that? We didn't know what it was at that point. But then it felt as soon as we kind of got the explanation and things, it felt almost childish. It lost that element of being scary and something a bit intimidating when it turned out to be the dust out of your eye. It was, for me, it just didn't gel at all. And I don't know if that's kind of because the previous 2 episodes for me personally were really, really strong and they had various locations. But for this, I don't know, it felt maybe one of the old season episodes where the episodes kind of weren't as strong. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, it definitely didn't feel as strong to me. I mean, I think part of it is probably because we've had all these 2-parters and they've been able to tell the story and string it out. And I think if this was a 2-parter, then we probably wouldn't have got that reveal so quick on. And when you do get it so early, it kind of ruins it because all this season we've got the end of the first episode and we've speculated on, what the monsters are, what the ghosts were in Under the Lake, all sort of things like that. And just knowing straight away, it kind of spoiled it a little bit. So getting all these reveals in it, I guess it's because it's just one episode and they need to kind of tell that story over the time. But telling the story and actually giving you a full story are 2 different things. And we really didn't get any resolution to it. And that was what really bugged us. Because at the end of it, when we got the next time trailer, I was sitting there expecting to see some sort of footage of what was going to happen on Triton and the Doctor going after these Morpheus pods and then realising maybe it was the message. But we didn't get any of that. We got the Face the Raven trailer and it totally threw us off. I was just sitting there what? What just happened? How did this end?
I think that was kind of a 50-50 thing, because by that point I was just kind of glad the episode was over. It didn't keep me engaged. I know a lot of people turned off, which is something you don't really hear about people doing with Doctor Who. I don't think I've ever turned like an episode off, but at parts I was kind of tempted, but then I wanted to wait until the end to see if there was any more like continuation of other themes, and there wasn't. I think this episode could have happily been at the very start of the series. There was nothing to take along for the ride apart from the fact that there might be a sequel, but
yeah, well, that's the thing, is it's like, because of the way that this season's being built and we've had such strong episodes, I think if this was in further at like the beginning of the season, we wouldn't really be complaining as much. But it's because we've had so many strong episodes to then get this, and with it just being a one-parter as well, it felt like a bit of a letdown. What did you sort of think from other reactions from it? Did you get any reactions on Twitter?
Surprisingly, there was a mixed bag onto it, because at first all I could see was people complaining, but there was like a few people who really enjoyed it, like Sakura, Lily and Lisa. She said she found it exciting, spooky, but needed to rewatch it in the end because it was all a bit too fast. Paul McGann fan said it was creepy and the Sandmen were so scary. Some people agreed with us though, like Metal Ollie, he said it was crap. And then we kind of have like an interesting view from Teva Ilan. He said it was astonishing how we can go from the best episode the previous week of Capaldi's era to possibly one of the worst, but he's glad there's going to be a sequel to explain why the entire universe hasn't been taken over, which I can kind of agree with, but at the same time, I don't really want a sequel because I didn't enjoy it enough. I don't know what you make of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that opinion. Like, I didn't like that episode, and I think that is just like my opinion, it's your opinion as well. Like, there's going to be people out there that do really like it, and for me, as not liking the episode, I don't really want to see a sequel, but I do want some conclusion. Maybe that'll like help us out in liking the episode as like the two of them as a whole, but just as a standalone episode, I didn't really like it, so I'm not too fussed for a sequel. But I hate things being left open, so I would love to see a sequel just for the fact that we get some closure to it. Because that sort of signal being sent out across the entire universe, then what's to stop everyone turning into Sandmen? There's got to be some way that the Doctor maybe tries to counteract that and save the day.
Yeah, I think another major pet peeve, and it wasn't even Moffat's fault this time. I could have happily just seen Clara like wipe them just out of her eye, and for me that would have been like it. I could have kind of buried it a bit more, but there was just nothing. It kind of just like ended suddenly, and I was a bit like, okay. And kind of like you, although I knew it was only a one-parter, I was kind of thinking, oh, does this maybe lead on to the next episode? Kind of like the girl who died. It wasn't like a two-parter as such, but they were linked.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird to see it just left behind, like with so much still to play with. It was strange.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was like you said, when we got the woman who lived, fair enough, it wasn't a traditional two-parter, but it was linked, and they did start off with meeting the Shilder and then joining the two episodes up. So I thought the least that we would really get is in the next time episode, we would get the start, being like the conclusion of this, and then leading on to the next thing. But seeing it set in sort of London and the story with Riggsy, then it's completely different. It's not leading on from this at all. So it just made me really confused as to what was happening, and maybe I missed something. So I thought when I watched it back, I might get some conclusion to it. But no, it seems as though the signal was actually sent out, and everyone in the universe could now be turning Sandmen. So it's a bit strange. So I guess that kind of covers our thoughts on it. It wasn't great, in my opinion. Your opinion as well, you didn't really like it, but we did get some people that did. So I guess it's a mixed bag. It kind of takes one of this week's talking points, though. What did you make of the no title sequence? Because we're so used to getting the titles in there, the iconic music, and yet this week we didn't get it.
If it had been a bigger episode and there was a lot more at stake, kind of, I think it would have worked the previous episode, because we thought the Doctor was going to die, and it probably would have gone with the truth and consequence type terrorist thing. But for this one, for me personally, I just felt there was no need to take it out at all.
Well, I kind of understood it, but at the same time, I was sitting there wanting it. Like, it's the same every week, but I really enjoy just sitting through the music and just rocking along with it. But I guess in the sense that it was sent out, it's like found footage. I don't know if you've seen on the BBC site, but they posted instead of like a traditional sort of news preview, saying this is this week's episode, they put it out as a memo from Unit, saying that this found footage was going to be broadcast on BBC One at 8:20 PM. So it was as if that this wasn't an episode of Doctor Who. It was the actual transmission that was being sent out. So I guess in a case, we should be waiting for the Doctor to come save her.
I could see that, but because there wasn't enough publicity behind it, I don't think it worked for me personally.
What did you make of, I guess it's like an alternate title sequence that we got with all like the names in there, because we had names from everyone in the episode. Did you pick up any to begin with? Because I noticed Clara straight away.
Yeah, as soon as for all like Doctor Who was like lit up, I just noticed Clara straight away, and I was trying to maybe think, right, has this got anything to do with Clara leaving? But apparently everyone's names were in there, so even that was like a bit lazy. It just looked like a crossword or something.
It did. It was like a Doctor Who crossword. I think after it, like you'll have to get a screen capture of it and just see how many you can find, because I think everyone's name from the episode was actually in there. So I guess that is kind of cool. But I missed the intro. I'm so used to saying it. I love it. I really missed the rock intro, to be honest.
Yeah, they should definitely bring it back, and please don't bring that back, whatever it was.
Absolutely. So moving on to the next talking point. Where did these monsters actually come from? What was your take on it? The Doctor kind of explained it, because he says that the sleep dust inside your eye, when you don't sleep, then it kind of took over and it consumed the host when it become cannibalized. So was that your take on it as well?
I think that was my take on it, but it was just like another like weak thing. Like, I don't know, it felt really childish to me. Like, the monsters looked great. I couldn't applaud them anymore for the design, because the designs this year have been really strong. And it kind of reminded me of one of the monsters from yet again Resident Evil. It was kind of like an adult monster. I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, to kids, oh, like, look at that.
I think they've been playing Revelations lately, haven't they?
There's like a lot of designs that look exactly like that, but then when you get the explanation, it kind of like deforms it, and for me, it kind of like ruined the backstory for it, and I just didn't really get it, because I don't know, I think one of those crap things. I can't even put words to it, because I really didn't like it, and I don't think personally it brought enough to the table and enough to be scared of. I know the monsters were terrifying and they ate people or whatever, but nah, not a fan.
Yeah, I think there was kind of some tricks that they kind of missed with it, because the Doctor explained in the episode that they took on a kind of humanoid form, and that was from like all the dust sort of collecting together. And what I found strange was, with that being the case, these monsters were kind of chasing them. We're seeing them locked outside the door, and then when one gets caught in the door, its hand turns to dust. And I thought what would have been cool, which we did kind of see in the episode, but they didn't show it on camera, was if the dust is already in the rooms and it's watching them, which is like this viewpoint, it would have been cool to just see the dust collectively come together, like behind someone, and form the monster. They didn't really need to come through the doors, because the dust was already spread across the place. And at the very start of the episode, the Doctor says that it looked as though the place had been empty for weeks. And at the time when he says that, it's because he kind of wipes up some dust. And I thought, well, maybe that's the explanation. He thinks it's been empty for so long, but that dust itself is just the crew that's been turned into this sort of sand. So I thought that would have been cool if we got that kind of reveal where it just bound together and made that form, which we kind of got when the guy had to sing the Sandman song to get in the room. And it looked as though he was safe, but then all of a sudden when he turned round, one of them monsters must have formed from that dust in the room.
I think this is kind of one of the hindrances from the found footage thing. Like, if you have like a found footage film or whatever, you can do a lot with it, but at the same time, there's a lot of like boundaries you have. Like you said, I think it would have probably made the episode a lot more dramatic and things if we just saw the dust, sand or whatever forming together to create a creature. But it was just like another thing of like removing kind of the threat and the mystery, and I think all around they missed out. It could have been a lot better episode, but by having the found footage as the viewpoint, it took away like a lot of the monster's capabilities and things. That was just my take on it.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the found footage? Did you like the way it was presented? Or do you prefer just like the traditional sense?
See, I love films like Cloverleaf. I'm not so fussed on Blair Witch, but I think if it's done right, it can be done really well. Like, say, when they first bumped into the monsters, I can't fault that because it was done brilliantly. But then, like, even the explanation for the found footage for me was crap. I thought it was weak. I can't understand why it couldn't have just been a helmet. I don't think they needed to go down the route of it's in your eye. because it could be in your eye, but you don't need to have a viewpoint of it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was really strange. Like that, I could probably get the one in your eye if it like takes over like the view receptors in your brain, which I think they did mention. But where it was just like the sand itself and it was like floating around, I thought that was like the really far-fetched bit, because they could have just said, you know, this is security cameras from the rooms, like they sort of mentioned at the start, before like the doctor realised there aren't any cameras. It is the actual sand. So I would have preferred like just something like that. Keep it simple. You don't have to go over the top with it. But I guess as a whole, like I liked the found footage thing. I think it was just the story that let it down for me.
Yeah, I think it was just like a lot of elements thrown together that just didn't work. I think if we'd had found footage for probably a better written episode, we probably could have done a lot more. Like, I just don't think the monster was right for that found footage thing. It probably kind of could have worked for Under the Lake because of the type of monsters there were with the ghosts and things and monitoring. But I just think it was far too many different elements that strung together and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a good effect to have. It kind of works overall, but maybe just this story, I think it was quite lazy, I think is the word that we were using to describe it before.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that was maybe what let it down. So, as we kind of switch focus, what did you make of Rasmussen? Because my question here is, we've seen him die, I think it was 3 times in the episode. So I didn't know if we're actually seeing the real Rasmussen die, or if he died early on before the sort of rescue crew had got there and it was the Sandmen that had actually had the rescue people come to help them get off the place. But we've seen him die the first time when he was consumed by a Sandman in the room with the doctor and everyone else. So that was death number 1. Then we had the second death where he was shot by Nagara. And then we've also seen him die at the end when he turns into sand. So what did you make of Rasmussen? And do you think he was the real Rasmussen? Was he a Sandman that took on his form? What was your take on it?
First off, like, I have to commend you on, like, yet another pun that, like, kind of went out of nowhere. But it's kind of a shame because the person who plays Rasmussen, he's quite a good actor. Like, I've seen him in a lot of things over the years. And I think, yeah, again, like, he was underplayed by the character he was given. And it wasn't until probably the last moments where he got to, like, shine. As for the character itself, I think what I took from it, that he was prisoner 0 or patient 0. And that's probably why he escaped death, because he got swallowed by the monster, which if he was patient 0, he probably just merged with that. If he was dust, I'm guessing that the bullet had probably passed straight through.
That's a good theory.
And then as for the end, obviously, if he is patient 0, he'd just like deform or whatever. It's kind of like another thing where I really don't care in a sense, because I didn't like the episode enough, so I wasn't invested enough as him as a villain or a character, and I kind of didn't get his plan. I don't know what they want. Maybe they want to take over the world and just fill it with dust. God, I don't know.
Well, that is the thing. Like even the plan itself, that was a letdown, because in the episode he explains that they've made him see their vision and that they're the future. And it's like looking at them, it's like, really, they're the future? How is that possible? How do you get that take? So I didn't understand what his view was. Like, if he'd created them and they were his children, which is the kind of feeling that we got with Davros early on this season, I could understand him wanting to help them. But at the same time, I don't get the reason behind that. It's not like these are like the next generation of humans or anything like that. There's nothing special about them. They're just dust. So I was really confused on that and why he wanted to help them in the first place. As for whether it was him, I guess I was kind of thinking maybe if he died in the Sandmen, we don't know if they can take on like an actual form, because we didn't see that in the episode. But if they were able to maybe possess him or something like that, then he could be turning into sand like throughout the episode. And like you said, when he got shot, if he was in that process where he'd pretty much finished converting over, then the bullets could have gone through him, and that could have been how he was able to send out that footage at the very end. Before, I guess, the very end of the process is where you do just turn into sand. So maybe that was what was seen at the very end. That was where he did actually die because of that process.
I think for me as well, like, compared, because I've just been back and watched a few older episodes, the Whispermen are a lot like the Sandmen, like, they form, like, kind of like a dust pattern to create the Whisper Men, and they take on the form of the Great Intelligence. So I think it's a lot like that, but because of how the writing was in that episode, the monster as a whole is a lot more threatening, and it kind of like every form was the Great Intelligence, if that makes sense. And I think that was like a way that it was done a lot better. And I think this one could have benefited from if every Sandman or whatever was the product of the original, if that kind of makes sense. Like if they were all Rasmussen.
Yeah.
I think that probably would have resonated a lot more with me, but I don't know, like, I just don't understand the end goal. I probably the writer might not understand either. That might be why a lot of it doesn't make sense and why
I
just didn't enjoy
throwing
it.
an ending because like he doesn't know where he's going with it. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe like when Moffat says to him, "Will you make a sequel?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." Oh, damn it! I don't know where I'm going with this, but I don't know. I think as you've just said, I agree with your point about them being quite a weak monster because there wasn't really that much threatening about them. They kept chasing people, but we then find out that they're blind and they can't actually see. So they were just walking straight past them. And as soon as they turned off the anti-gravity, they just turned back to sand anyway. So it wasn't like these were like a real dangerous threat. But at the same time, I guess the threat is just the fact that this transmission's going out. So that's the main thing. It's not really the monsters itself.
It was the transmission more than the monsters, and the monsters were crap.
Yeah. So I'm not really like looking forward to seeing them back too much. But like we said before, I just want to kind of get that resolution in there. What did you make of the point in regards to Clara? Because she did actually go into the pod and she was infected by this. So theoretically, just as we watched the episode and we could be turned into Sandmen, then Clara could also be turned into one. So do you think this could be the cause of Clara's death? Because we know impending exit is rapidly coming up.
I think that was like one of the strange things for me. I think the doctor maybe should have been infected because if it's not Clara then, and Clara's going, I don't understand how the story can continue if Clara's going to go away, and if she does die, then surely that threat's over and done with, and it's like another strand that doesn't make sense. Like if it had been earlier on in the series, fair enough, there's a possible chance it'll come back or whatever. And the only thing I kind of took from the chamber pod was maybe that was like talk of, because it said Clara needed a lot of rest. Maybe she is, I know I've brought it up before, maybe she is ill and that was like another nod towards that. But other than that, I don't think it really had much of a purpose. Yeah,
like you've just said there, I think if this was early on in the series, then it would have been a good point to have like spread across where we're always wondering, what's up with Clara? Is something going to happen to her? But because of it, the way it is, I guess even the doctor, he didn't seem to like bother that Clara had been infected. Like, he seemed to say it was going to be fine. And maybe this is like we've also said, where the doctor knows what's going to happen to Clara. And he's like, well, I know she doesn't die by turning into a Sandman. So it's not going to be a case of that. And then she'll be fine from this. Maybe I can leave this off and, revisit this next season when the writer comes up with something else. So I don't think it'll be the death of Clara. I'd be really disappointed if it was, especially not like in this episode. But I think we'll get a much bigger, much more grand death, or, well, we'll keep saying death. I'm pretty sure it will be, but an exit for Clara.
Maybe if Clara dies, maybe we'll just see like a speck of just like flying around.
Well, that could be the thing. She's just turned to dust. No more Clara. What did you make of like the ending then, and how the Doctor's going to save anyone? You got any theories on this for when we pick it up next time?
Just get like a big vacuum cleaner, I think, and anyone who's allergic to just, well, they're screwed.
Just have a clean up. Just go around the station.
Yeah, just like a spring clean, you'll all be fine. It's kind of annoying because Rasmutten's acting at that point was really good, but because Clara's going, it kind of removes that threat. And I don't know, if it infected the Doctor or we'd seen some dust in the Tardis, fair enough. I'd have been a lot more like, oh, what's going to happen? But I kind of can't see how it will continue because surely that spaceship or whatever is going to blow up now or something.
Well, I don't think it will, to be honest with you, because I forget the guy's name, but the one that the Grunt saved, who was going to blow up the station, I thought he had like quite a pointless death because the Grunt saved him and that was like a heroic moment. but then he went on to die anyway, and he was the guy that was going to blow up the station. So with him dying, I guess the station's still going to be there. So it's all going to come back to like this next sequel that we'll get, which will probably be next season. I could probably say we'll get the Doctor on Triton, disabling sort of the Morpheus pods and getting rid of them, and then come to the realization, which I think he probably did in the episode itself, that, you know, he picked up that it was all like a kind of story. So I think he'll realize it was a transmission that was being sent out, and he'll be able to either intercept it, or he'll send out like a follow-up transition that kind of wipes it or disables whatever it sort of changed in the mind of the people that viewed it. Or, like before the flood, he could just send out a load of sonic specs to everyone, and that can erase the message for them.
Finally have it. I think the thing is they did miss out on a lot of things. If they anticipated it to be a sequel or not, what we could have had was like, say like the title comes up saying a few years later and another team go on the ship and it kind of starts again, and then we're left thinking, well, are they going to get infected and fly off? Or it just kind of needed something else, because he just dissipated on the ship and we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just left it at like a really strange point. Do you think Clara will be in the sequel?
It's strange because Moffat said Clara won't be back, and then he said she might be back. It'd kind of be like a really, well, it'd also be a really crap episode to bring her back if she just got, I don't know, like, I don't want a sequel.
If we get specials, which is something that's been like mentioned, then I guess a special is a good way to bring Clara back. But at the same time, this story, it's not the story I want to see her back in.
I don't want to see anyone in the episode, because that's the thing, like, Clara's and the Doctor's acting in this one, because it was from different points of view. You kind of viewed them differently as well. I don't know if it was just me, but they kind of didn't feel like the Doctor and Clara. They just felt like another person on a ship that was going to blow up.
Yeah, I get that. I think, I don't know really how you think about this, but the way Clara was in this episode, did it feel like earlier Clara? Because she wasn't as Doctor-like as she has been in recent episodes.
She was kind of a bit fearless again. Like, I wouldn't say she was the Doctor as such. For all those elements where, like, the Doctor was scared and she wasn't, it kind of felt like that battle-ready Clara that we were experiencing a while ago. And I kind of did feel again that this was kind of out of time. I know we said it should have been earlier on, but even still, like, the adventure kind of felt like it was in the wrong place. And I don't know, maybe they'll come back and address that. I don't think they will if there is going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
But I'm just hoping that there's going to be a huge consequence for Clara kind of becoming more and more the Doctor. Like, we had her naming the monster, and I kind of didn't pick up on it until the Doctor said, but I really like that. That was probably the only thing I could take away for a future episode. Yeah,
that was kind of cool. I like that little moment between them. But like you say, I think it's probably going to be a case of when they do come back to this. I don't think Clara will be in this. It'll probably be like when we got Rory and Amy in the TARDIS, and we had the phone call with Matt Smith's Doctor about the mummy on the Orient Express. But then, even though that was teased with Amy and Rory, we didn't get that until Clara was around. So I think this is probably something that they will pick up with the next companion. But it's just in a strange position because it ended with Nagata and Clara in the TARDIS, both of them infected. And it's just a strange one to be able to pass on to a next companion when you're in that position. So it's going to be really interesting just to see how they progress from that moment to the next thing. So I think that's more what I'm interested in, as opposed to the actual story itself, just to see how they explain the sort of going between the two episodes.
It kind of reminded me of the episode with the Dream Lord, where it turns out there's just like a speck of it, is it a gem or something on the TARDIS, and that's how the Dream Lord kicks in. I kind of wouldn't have minded if they'd gone that approach, but
yeah, I would have much preferred that. I think if they were in their Morpheus pods and the Dream Lord showed up, I really liked that episode, so I would love to see the Dream Lord back. That would have been a cool way to reintroduce him to it.
Yeah, and I kind of wouldn't mind Rasmussen being like an incarnation of the Dream Lord, you could say, but I just think overall they missed out on a lot of things, and I think the episode could have been a lot more dark and mysterious, but because of certain aspects and things, it just didn't work.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. So I guess that kind of covers all of this week's talking points. We do want to cover next week's preview though, because I have to say, Face the Raven, it looks amazing. To be honest with you, I preferred next week's preview to this week's episode. What do you think of the preview?
I totally agree. I was I was really excited when I saw the Next Time trailer, and I got a lot more enjoyment from it. It seemed to have a lot more information about kind of the rest of the series and the TV trailer as well, and it kind of looks like a really, really good episode. I don't think it's going to be over the top CGI and things. I think it's going to be kind of a really tight, compact episode, and it looks like we're finally going to get the explanation behind what's going on with Clara. Is she dying? Is she leaving or whatever? So I really can't wait, and it's the first of the 3 episodes that's meant to be really, really sad. And of course, we've got Maisie Williams coming back, so.
Well, that was the thing in the preview. We see the sort of clip with Clara as well, as if she's saying goodbye to the Doctor. So I think next week, it's going to be an emotional time if I have to say goodbye to Clara. And it doesn't sound good, because if you read the preview for the episode, it does sort of hint that not everyone's going to get out alive. So read the preview. It says, the Doctor and Clara with their old friend Rigsy find themselves in a magical alien world hidden on a street in the heart of London. Sheltered within are some of the most fearful creatures of the universe, and a shielder with a death sentence hanging over their heads. Not all of the intruders will get out alive. So it looks as though someone is going to die. Could that be the Doctor, Rigsy, or is it going to be Clara?
I kind of don't think it'll be Rigsby because, well, they're going there to save him, to Diagon Alley by the looks of it, of all places.
Do you think they'll meet Harry Potter?
I hope so. I don't think Hagrid will kind of fit in the street though, because it does look really tight.
It'll be a squash.
And I can't remember Cyberman being in Harry Potter, so.
That's a good point, because we did see, was it an Ood that was kind of working on the Cyberman helmet?
Yeah, I feel sorry for the Cyberman, because there's a lot of helmets roaming around. You never see a body, it's always a head.
Yeah, it's always a head. What's going on with that?
You never see a Dalek head.
It's so strange. I don't know what to take from that, because I wasn't expecting Cybermen or anything. So this little street, whatever's going on there, it looks interesting, because it's got all these different creatures in there. We've seen that shield has popped up there. We've got Oods, Cybermen. I really don't know what to expect from it. We've got this Raven as well, which magically turned into sort of smoke to come out of that cage and attack someone. So we don't know anything about that. Maybe could Ishilda be controlling them? Is she, Queen of Ravens?
Apparently the Judoon are going to show up as well, and if you look in some of the clips, there's policemen, so maybe we're going to get an authority role, and maybe the Shadow Proclamation will be somehow involved, and maybe we'll kind of get some backlash from how the Doctor's been acting and going against his own rules, and just some of the changes that both him and Clara have been through.
Yeah, that'll be really cool if we get some resolution to what we had with the Doctor and saving Ishilda, because he did kind of break the rules then, and we had him sort of looking up to the sky and cursing it as if to say he was going to do it anyway. So it'd be interesting to see what happens as a result of him doing that. So I guess that covers next week's preview. We do have one other bit of news, which is Doctor Who related, but not entirely, because it was announced that Michelle Gomez, who plays Missy, will be appearing in Gotham as the Lady. So if you're a fan of Gotham, then make sure to keep an eye out for her later this season. So I guess that brings us to the end of this episode, but let us know your thoughts on the episode itself and all this week's talking points. So give us your thoughts on the episode. Was it as bad as we made out? What were your thoughts on Rasmussen, and when did he die? Will Clara being infected lead to her death? And finally, how do you think things will be wrapped up in the sequel? So let us know your thoughts in the comments, so you can get in touch with us via Twitter at Tardis_talk. So make sure to let us know what you think, as we look forward to hearing your thoughts. But until next time,
see you later.